Okay, so first of all, thank you everyone for taking the time to join us on today's Digital Webinar Wednesday. This is our second last episode for the year. We have one final one coming up next week as well at the same time. And before we get into that, I just want to quickly give you guys a little overview of what you are to expect on today's webinar. We have been doing a lot of different summits and workshops and even virtual presentations in the past. And what we've done is kind of put together this presentation here for you guys to use yourself. Of course, I mean, anytime that if you're presenting at a BNI conference or any type of workshop that you're doing, we always strongly recommend you customize it and personalize it, the entire presentation to suit your needs and whatever you're comfortable with. I know sometimes, I have a personal challenge myself. If I'm looking at someone else's slides, it's hard for me to kind of tell the story as if someone who created it themselves. So having that said, there's still a lot of elements I think in here that I think you guys could find useful and use. And this is really like a holistic overview of all digital marketing stuff. And without further ado, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and begin the presentation as I were explaining this to if you guys were a group of my colleagues or staff members or new prospects in the room. And also keep in mind, usually when we conduct these workshops, we kind of try to get a best sense of the people coming, which, what vertical are they from? Are they B2B? Are they B2C? What type of business are they in? Are they consultants themselves? Do they have in-house experts? What's their level of expertise? And usually you're always going to get a mixture. You're going to get people, when you speak about digital marketing, that they're very novice. So when you start saying things like CPM and CTR rates, they've got no idea what that means. And, you want to make sure that you incorporate, and keep in mind of those people and help explain what that is. But at the same time, you have a lot of people in the room that might be more advanced users, and you want to provide value to them as well. So hopefully this presentation here kind of paints the picture and really helps you guys upsell digital services. So let's just start with the presentation. And what we typically like to open up with before, sometimes we have our kind of an introduction of who we are, what we do, some of the brands that we've worked with. Sometimes we keep that at the end of the presentation, sometimes at the beginning, just depending on how it's all laid out. But the real aspect, what we like to start off with is really, again, enforcing people, which this is not new, but we like to use this slide to show people that we do live in a multi-device world. We're at the point where not everyone just browses their, does searches on a laptop or a computer or a desktop. A lot of people are using things like tablets and mobile devices, and that changes throughout the day. So you could see that someone might be using their laptop or desktop at work, but when they get home in the evening, they switch to their phone, and when they're watching, their favorite TV show, they're using some type of iPad or some similar device to that nature. So it's important as a brand that you are marketing yourself and making sure that not only is your website or your web properties available in all these different platforms and technologies, are you marketing yourself as well in all these different technologies as well. So I'm a big Seinfeld fan, so I always have a lot of Seinfeld references in my presentations, and I kind of like to use the one with Jerry Seinfeld with the episode where he's dating a girl with man hands. And because my biggest frustration right now is when I'm browsing the web on a mobile device, I kind of have what I call, big fat fingers. And it's so, it's one of my pet peeves is when you come across a device or a website that's not mobile friendly, and you try to click on the contact us button, but your fingers hit something else just because it wasn't optimized for that mobile experience. So we try to, again, educate our clients that, I mean, again, mobile websites, this stuff is not new, but still surprisingly how many websites are online right now that still forget the whole mobile experience. And for those of that, all know that earlier this year, sometime I believe it was in April, towards the end, Google finally rolled out an update that kind of hopefully force a lot of businesses to go mobile because Google made it directly a part of their ranking factors to see if you've got a mobile website or not. So one of the things we like to show is Google Analytics, and it's just not our word saying you need a mobile website or a responsive website, because sometimes your clients might say, well, my target audience, they're not using things like phones and iPads, and that's not them. We always refer back to Google Analytics because it collects so much data, and a lot of people don't even know that this data exists. So we show them a screenshot of, you could log into GA, Google Analytics, and under audience in the mobile overview, you could see how many people are coming to your website through a mobile device. One of the things that we've learned in the past when we're doing these workshops, especially if your computer is hooked up to some type of projector and you're doing it in front of a room full of people, the people at the back, it gets hard for them to see some of these numbers. So we do our best that, in this case, we click once more and it kind of zooms in. So that way, no matter where you're sitting in the room, if you're way at the back, this information becomes quite clear. I think that's one of the another points to point out is anytime you're doing a presentation, if you've got a lot of text or if you've got a lot of data, keep in mind that even though it looks okay on your screen when you're presenting it, depending on the people viewing it and how far they are, I mean, they might not be able to see that stuff accurately. So use PowerPoint or use Keynote or any of your presentations that you're doing it in, and make sure you use the zoom functionality on different aspects inside your presentation so everyone gets that view. So in this example, you could clearly see that, what is it here? A close of 36% of all traffic is coming through mobile devices. And we like to even break that down even further by showing them, you could even find out which devices are people coming from. So in this case, you could see iPhone and the iPad and the Samsung. And again, for anybody that's familiar with Google Analytics, this is like, yeah, this stuff is normal. But when we present this, you should kind of see like the awe or the wows in the room for those people that are not even aware that you could collect this data. And just to make the presentation always fun, I always like, and you could use any one of your clients as an example here, but I always like to do a search for BlackBerry to see how far down the list they fell down. So in this particular example that I've used, BlackBerry, in terms of this website's traffic, they're like 126th on the list. I mean, they just beat out China Mobile and CoolPad devices I've never even heard of. So having that's usually what we open up with, is kind of a quick overview of mobile and why it's important and so forth, and then kind of getting into the different aspects of what WSI does. And it usually falls into one of three categories. It's either web presence, digital advertising, or something we call lead management system. When we're looking at web presence, so if you've got a prospect in play and they're not happy with their existing website, with the technology, the look, design, and feel, or if they don't have a social profile, or if they need a mobile app developed, somewhere where they need to send targeted traffic to, this is where WSI could help with in terms of building any of those properties across the board. You might have people that you come across in your sales calls or your prospecting that have a great looking website, and that's not their issue. Their issue is traffic. And then again, we could start talking about search engine optimization, pay-per-click, display and retargeting, using social and mobile to drive targeted traffic, and email marketing. I mean, the list goes on, but here's just a handful of some different services to drive back targeted traffic to the website. And then the last bucket, now you might have a prospect, they've got a great looking website, they get lots of traffic, and that's not their issue, but their problem is conversions. They're not getting people to pick up the phone and call them, or to add an item to the shopping cart and check out, or to sign up to their newsletter. Whatever the goals of their website may be, for whatever reason, the traffic is not doing so. So again, this is where we at WSI, we could help with understanding their Google Analytics and providing them real consulting. I mean, you would be surprised. I mean, almost every website, at least for the most part, that we come across, they all have now Google Analytics on them. And most companies that have Google Analytics on them, at least in my opinion, that I come across, they get some type of report. So they might get like a dashboard report, or they might log in once in a blue moon and they kind of see this, nice pie chart and line chart. Here's how much traffic and visits, and here's your bounce rate. But what does that all really mean? Like, are you doing anything with that data? So we're not finding a lot of people are either doing something with that data or know how to do something with that data. So again, this is an opportunity for you guys as consultants to provide them with that consulting hat on and crunching that data and provide meaningful conversations with them in terms of what recommendations or changes and things that need to be done to improve their website, improve user experience, improve conversion ratios, or whatever their key performance indicators may actually be. So let's talk about some of those sections. So the first one we're going to talk about is pay-per-click marketing. And one of the things, again, if we have a whole bunch of prospects in the room and they're kind of skeptical about pay-per-click marketing, we like to share with them some of these tools. So we're like, look, there's 5 tools out there, and they all do different things, but more or less, you could take these tools and plug in some of your competitors and see, are they advertising on AdWords? And if they are, how much are they spending? And what do their ad copies look like? And what keyword phrases are they bidding for? And how much is it costing for their keywords? I mean, one of the easiest ways to convince a prospect to do online marketing or pay-per-click marketing is show them what their competitors are doing and how much are they spending. And I mean, not only does it convince them a lot of times, but it also justifies why they should be spending X amount of dollars on media spend or X amount of dollars on this particular campaign based on what competitors are doing. This right here is a very simple list, by the way, that again, we just share with prospects. They quickly write it down. And again, sometimes while we're even going through the presentation, you could tell that they're actually going in these tools and putting in their competitors, and they're kind of getting impressed by the data that they see. But if you guys, from the consulting aspect, we've got a whole separate presentation that's got about like 20 different tools that we use now to put together a really complete analysis that if you need, we'd be more than happy to share with you. But here, give or take, as like I said, prospects love to see this. And then we start selling them on the value of why do pay-per-click marketing in the first place. And the obvious reason is it's super fast. I mean, if you want to be found right now in Google or Yahoo or Bing or any of your, the major search engines out there, the quickest, fastest way to be found right now is by paying for those spots. And, we all know organic SEO could take a long time, and it could take 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year. It could take longer. It all depends on how competitive the phrase is. How does the prospect's website look up and stack up to the existing websites that are ranking on page 1 of Google, and how much work needs to be done? I mean, there's just so many variables involved, and a lot of brands, they can't sit around and wait 3, 6, 9, 12 months before they start seeing their phone call ring or forms getting completed. So pay-per-click is an alternative and a quick, fast way to drive immediate traffic to any of your web properties. Another great thing about pay-per-click marketing, it allows you to test your website and split test or multivariate test. So if you launch a new landing page and you want to know how effective it is, or if you've got a new product or you've got a new offer and you just want to know how well it's going to work, quick, fast way of finding out is paying for traffic to be sent to those particular pages where you could test, measure, analyze, and then improve your copy or your call to offer or your action or whatever you were testing on your specific landing pages. The big thing is as well as improving your SEO campaigns. I mean, when we even do keyword research, what we typically do is, we ask our prospect, okay, could you tell us from your opinion, what are the most important keyword phrases to you as a business? And they go ahead and they provide us their keyword phrases, what they feel. And then we use tools like Google Keyword Planner and Market Samurai, and there's a bunch of other keyword tools out there that allow you to harness and come back with a more complete list where you could share with the prospect saying, okay, that's great that you provided this foundation, but here's actually how people are searching for your products and services online. And then we provide them a list of keywords and how many people are searching for those keywords on a monthly basis, how much people are competing against those phrases, what their current ranking is on those phrases. That way we could figure out, well, which keyword should we focus on strictly from an SEO strategy. And again, there's nothing wrong with that strategy, but one thing to keep in mind is if you ultimately want to know if you've got a list of 100 phrases and you're trying to pick the best 10 or the best 20, well, how are you making your selection? Is it just based on the highest search volume? Because the highest search volume, generally speaking, also takes probably the longest to get results because it's the most competitive. But even that aside, just because a keyword phrase has a higher search volume doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be better for your customer or that particular client. So, for example, a term like television probably has a lot more searches than LCD television, than 42-inch LCD television, than Sony 42-inch LCD television. So the more long tail you're going, the less the search volume, but the more the customer might be in a buying cycle or a converting cycle. So one of the quick, fast ways to test your keywords is to do a quick pay-per-click campaign. And typically we like to recommend a 90-day program. So you got 3 months to build data, build traffic. And that way you could plug in your 100 keyword phrases or your 500 keyword phrases. And then over a 3-month period, we can know that, okay, out of these 500 phrases that we've tested, here are the ones that are ultimately driving the most phone calls or form completions. And now you've got a basis or a foundation for your SEO strategy, your content marketing strategy. So it's a great way to use that data to build that specific list. One of the barriers that we often see when we start talking about pay-per-click marketing is it costs too much money, or I've done it in the past and it hasn't worked. And it's true that pay-per-click could cost a lot of money. So again, if you look at some of the most expensive keyword phrases right now, this is US data, like insurance is #1. So if you want to be ranked in the top spot for a term like auto insurance, you're typically going to be paying $54.91 per click. Really, really expensive. But again, this is an eye-opener for anybody that's in that vertical and they want to know, well, what should my budget be and how much do I need to spend? And again, we don't like to use this to scare customers away saying, wow, I can't afford to spend $55 per click. That's not the case for all keywords. This is obviously looking at some of the most expensive keywords on from the data that's coming out of Google. And again, alongside of that is the conception that I've done this before and it doesn't work, or we've had another agency that did pay-per-click marketing before and we just blew a lot of money. So, and sometimes you could try to convince your prospect that, listen, WSI is different and we do things differently. But these are real questions that you want to ask because there's so many mistakes that can be made during pay-per-click marketing that, it's #1. Let's just go through the list. Were you testing the time of the day or the day of the week? So for example, by default, when you're running ads, your ads, let's just say, start at midnight. And mostly, let's just say during the morning hours, that's when more people are searching for your product or your service. And it could be by lunchtime, based on your daily budget, your ad budget has depleted, meaning your ads are no longer going to be shown for the rest of the day until midnight hits again and the cycle starts over and over again. Well, what if you were getting more conversions in the afternoon or after lunch hours or on weekends versus weekdays? These are all things that you want to test. And again, when we're speaking about WSI and our platforms, our technologies, and our people, these are areas that we automatically could adjust your budgets based on what day and time you're getting the biggest bang for your buck and you're getting the highest conversions. And the same thing applies for device. If you're getting a lot more on, getting a lot more benefit out of mobile versus tablet versus desktop versus, laptop, again, budgets could be adjusted accordingly. Even ad position. A lot of people think that being #1 in the ad campaigns is the best thing ever. Not necessarily. I mean, what we call is happy clickers. A lot of people just click on the ad, not realizing it's an ad, and they don't quickly see what they want to see, and they might hit the back button. So sometimes being in position #3 could outweigh being in position #1. For one, probably somebody read your ad. because they've taken the time to click and read it, opposed to just clicking randomly. Number two, especially if you're in the area where people might be, you might be competing with people with similar products or price. If you're the third or fourth option, you've got the benefit of now of making sure that they went to website 1, 2, and 3, and now they're coming to your website. How could you make sure that when they get there, that your offer is better? You've got comparative data that what makes you different than some of your other competitors out there. So there's a lot of advantages of testing ad positions to see what's going to drive you the biggest bang for your buck. Not using the right keyword matches. So again, this is just looking at negative keywords and broad keywords and making sure those things have been set up correctly. So again, if I'm selling, some of this gets tricky, but there's ways to do it. So if I'm selling, for example, an iPhone, and someone types in the word Apple, are they looking for the fruit or are they looking for my product, right? And so even though the search query matches my product, does the intent of that query also match my product or my service? And again, this is where you need to have manpower behind the machine to be looking at these variables and filtering out what we call relevant searches versus irrelevant searches, and making sure that your pay-per-click campaign is performing to the best degree. Not knowing who your competitors are. This is, often overlooked a lot. If you don't know who your pay-per-click marketing competitors are, how could you possibly write better ad copies and have better landing pages and have more compelling copy? So that's another thing to ask the prospect is, when you were engaged in this, did you or the agency that you work with analyze this and come back with you with this data? So here's a quick example of a prospect that was doing pay-per-click marketing. They sell coffee, and they had like text ads where they said premium Hawaii coffee, and they had like their ad copy there and so forth. And when we approached them, they were getting traffic, but they weren't getting conversion. So one of the things that we told them, and when we did this research, is, look, your coffee, we understand it's a premium coffee, because they were very proud of their actual, they're like, it's all organic, we grow it in-house, we don't put any of these chemical additives, and you could tell they're very passionate about their product, which is great. But if someone is searching online, they got no idea about this, and if the landing page does not tell that story, or if someone does like me, that doesn't know anything about coffee, but I'm trying to buy something for a friend or a family member, for example, like for Christmas, I might just be basing my product, purchasing simply on price, and whoever has the lowest price or a reasonable price, I might make that choice. This is where, especially for e-commerce sites, Google Shopping has become a very, very powerful tool, because once we switch them over to this platform, I believe their cost per click did go higher. However, and they weren't getting as many clicks as they were with contextual ads, but their conversion rate improved by, I think, like 300 something percent. It was almost night and day in terms of the campaign. And the reason why was, you would not click on the ad, go to a landing page, and get scared away by their price. And you could see that they're actually number 2 and number 3 here in the middle. So they actually were selling products that are like $55 for like, I think, a 12-ounce package, where some of the competitors sold, again, Hawaiian coffee or Kona coffee for $12 a package. So again, not as many clicks, but the people that were clicking were tending to buy at a higher rate, just because they didn't get scared off by that barrier of price. So one factor how you could use shopping results, especially for it is for e-commerce sites only, but in conjunction with contextual ads. One of the most common mistakes that we see in pay-per-click marketing is sending people to the wrong landing page. So this seems like very simple stuff, but we like doing a live demo to our, when we're doing these webinars and, or live workshops of how this stuff all ties together. So I use the example of 42-inch LED television. That's my keyword phrase. Oops, I clicked ahead there. And you can see over there, in terms of, they're the 3 ads that are showing up for that actual keyword phrase. And then you see ads from Walmart, Amazon, and Dell. So if I go ahead and look at the Dell ad for 42-inch LED television, I like to ask the audience, well, here's the landing page. What do you see? And yes, you see TVs, but I don't see anything about a 42-inch. I don't see anything about a Vizio, which is a brand I search for. I mean, it's everything but that. In fact, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, and the presentation will do that once you click further, you can see there in the middle, you've got yourself a 42-inch Vizio, but it's a 70-inch. It's not even the same one. Whereas Walmart's landing page, on the other hand, it's not the perfect landing page, but you can see it's a lot better. So, excuse me, you can see that they got their product that says 42-inch, and it's what I actually searched for. So again, talking to your prospects, when you're typing in your keyword phrase, are you sending traffic to a landing page that matches that keyword phrase? It sounds like this is common sense and everybody should do this. Surprisingly, especially when you get a lot of products or a lot of keywords and no one's really matching everything to the T, there could be a lot of loose ends that get misplaced. So you can see the example like Dell is not doing the most effective job on their pay-per-click marketing campaign because that keyword got overlooked for them. So what we have is kind of a landing page checklist that we print out typically and give to our prospects or our clients as to what to look for when building a landing page. And honestly, even though we're arming them with a lot of tools and a lot of information, indirectly at the end, it's really giving WSI the credibility of, look, these guys obviously know what they're talking about. Yes, I could sit here and try to do all this stuff myself and work with this myself, but and some of them, they might even try it themselves. And here's the good part: once they see success and they tune in to more of your webinars or workshops over time, you start building that credibility and authority with them. And even though they've done it themselves, they see success. Again, you've now built that trust, which is so key that at some services which they do not have the resources in-house to do, you have now the ability to upsell them, or they'll come to you asking how they could work closely together with you. So having that said, we talked about from a conversion perspective, the biggest challenges on landing pages. There's just too many choices that people are given. And that's why typically when we design landing pages, and we've got examples here of some of the landing pages that we built, we typically have 3 funnels or three areas where we like to direct people on a landing page. So that was the example of Wonder Bread. We have examples of all but gluten. So you can see the landing pages, the call to action, they're at the bottom there. Here's the one with Napoleon. And not to say that you should only have 3 funnels. I mean, this is not to say the magic number that works for everyone. It's usually a good number to have when you have 3 different calls to action. Anything more than that starts to dilute the visitor. And you could still have a navigation and menu if they want to look at different things. Again, this is stuff you want to test. Sometimes in our pay-per-click campaigns, we eliminate all navigation and what we call distractions. But in some cases, depending on the business and what they do, that's critical because, if they do need to look at more information before they make a decision, where that thought process takes longer, we might need to have some supporting content and information. So then we start talking about quality score, and this gets to a little bit more technical aspect of the whole pay-per-click marketing, but it will educate them on understanding why pay an agency like WSI to handle their pay-per-click marketing, because they might think, well, why can't I just go into Google AdWords, tell Google, here's my keyword phrases, here's my geographic region, here's the ad copy I want you to show, and here's my landing page, and I could have, it could go directly through Google. And why do I need to pay WSI, which, they're probably taking some type of management fees and this fees to handle my marketing for me. The biggest thing we like to emphasize is our ability to not only understand, to maximize something called quality score, which ultimately is how much they're going to be paying for their cost per click. So in layman's term, if you've got a quality score of 1, it's poor, you're paying the most, and if you've got a quality score of 10, which is perfect, you're paying the least. And the way to maximize that quality score is through things like your keyword relevancy, your ad relevancy, your landing page, how fast it loads, your ad performance, meaning your click-through rate. The higher click-through rate you have, the better your quality score will be. These are all variables here as well. So we like to use this example of, look, let's just say you're willing to spend $2 per click and your competitors are willing to spend $8 per click because they have deeper pockets, But if we've maximized your quality score, what Google will do is they'll take your maximum bid, they multiply it by your quality score, and to get something called your ad rank. And you could see that in this particular scenario, I mean, it's an extreme scenario, but it just paints the picture. The person that was willing to bid the least amount of money has the highest ad rank, meaning they'll have the highest position in AdWords when it comes to the actual rankings of the ad, and they're going to be paying the least amount per click. So this is just another example of the quality score. So we talked about if you've got a quality score of 1, your cost per click gets increased by average of 400%, where if you've got a perfect quality score of 10, your cost per click generally gets discounted by 50%. So imagine if someone is spending $1,000 a month on AdWords right now, their average cost per click is $1, and they're driving 1,000 visits. Without actually increasing their media spend, imagine optimizing their campaign to improve their quality score. So for that same 1,000 visits, now they might be getting 1,200 visits or 1,400 visits, and chances are even if it's a small number of increase, they're going to be a lot more qualified visits than the 1,000 that they were actually getting. So then we've got some tips over here in terms of how to increase quality score. We've done a whole pay-per-click webinar on this in the past, so I'm not going to go through this and how this works just because for the sake of time, but I'll go through some of these. So number one, adding branded terms. You want to make sure generally you have at least 10, well, not at least, usually the good mark is about 10% of all your keyword phrases are branded terms because they're automatically going to get a quality score of 10, which is going to lift the quality scores of keywords, which you've got 3, 4s, and 5s. So for example, let's just say you've got a whole bunch of keyword phrases and most of them have a quality score of 4, 5, and 6. You've now gone ahead and added a whole bunch of branded terms in which, again, you can't mess that up. You're going to get a score of 10 on this because it's your brand, it's your domain. Those 10s right there are going to bring the average of the 3, 4s, and 5s up to maybe like a 4, 5, and 6. So just as the way the poor quality keywords could drag down your high-performing ones, your high-performing ones could increase the poor-performing ones as well. Write awesome ads. We've talked about having, your click-through rate has a big importance of your quality score. So if Google is seeing that your ad copy is getting shown, but no one's clicking on it, that works negatively against you. On average, Google is saying if you've got a click-through rate of above 1%, that's above average in Google's eyes. But generally, we even like to try to aim for a 2% or higher of a click-through ratio for your pay-per-click campaign. And again, how do you do that? There's different ways, and again, there's bullet points of here of how to think and write emotionally charged ads to trigger clicks. The example that I like to use, which kind of brings some humor to the room, is this is one for a divorce lawyer. So usually when people have divorce lawyer ads, it's like divorce lawyer Atlanta and looking for a divorce lawyer, here's my phone number or whatever it may be. This one's saying, who is your husband with? Is he sleeping with her right now? Get revenge and a smile on your face. I mean, this is obviously a little bit of an extreme example to use, but I mean, it works well. So it eliminates things like, is your keyword phrase in the ad copy and stuff like that, because it's not. And those are factors that do impact quality score, but remember, click-through rate is also a big, big impact. So if this ad stands out among all the other competitors, and again, it's emotionally charged, where if someone was going, unfortunately, if they are experiencing this, this might be something that they want to click on just because of the way this ad was actually written. So how to write compelling ads? Again, this is just another, I always love this example to show anytime I'm doing this stuff. This is a billboard. Well, actually, I think it started with magazine, but if you look at, this is congratulations, Audi, for winning South African Car of the Year 2006 from the winner of the World Car Year of 2006. So this is BMW kind of making a little jab at Audi. So then what Audi did in return was, congratulations, BMW, for winning World Car of the Year 2006 from the winner of 6 consecutive Le Mans 24-hour races. So again, now Audi is taking a little jab at BMW. In fact, they kind of went all out that every single campaign that they've done is, they had a billboard that was put up, and the entire billboard, I mean, it even has your competitor's name in there, like, you're a move, BMW, the entirely new Audi A4. Like this stuff was pretty cool. And again, of course, looking at where your market is and the guidelines, sometimes you cannot put your competitors' names in your ads and things like that. However, this to show an example of how to write effective ads, this is probably one of the best examples, which I personally like. So this is your move, BMW, the entirely new Audi A4. Well, take a look at what BMW did across the street from this ad. Checkmate. I mean, how powerful is that? Again, the point of this is write better ad copies than your competitors. If you're not looking at what your competitors are doing on their ad copies, on their landing pages, on their offers, you're going to lose the pay-per-click and the conversion battle. And this is where, again, we emphasize to our prospects and our audience that's watching this webinar or the live workshop of this is what WSI's capabilities are that we could help you with. Another one as well is to use call extensions. So call extensions are quite important, especially on mobile devices, because if someone's searching for things like taxi, plumber, towing, or pizza store, or any of that stuff, where all they want to do is get a phone number, you could have a little button that says call, and you click that button. It's a quick way of generating phone calls right to the business. So again, only use this, of course, if you want to generate phone calls, and of course, if you've got awesome people answering the phones. If you've got poor customer service or you guys don't answer the phones that often, this is probably going to backfire on you and not work well. But for the most part, if you've already gotten the logistics taken care of, this is a great way of driving immediate phone calls to your place of business without someone clicking on your website, trying to find the phone number and all that other stuff. So again, just for the sake of time, I'm just going to delve through the just different stuff that we could do with pay-per-click stuff. Again, we've done a whole webinar that specifically talks about some of these scripts that we've got into place to maximize bid position and how to write dynamic ad copies and so forth. So I'm just going to delve through this at this moment. And then we could get into something called display ads and retargeting. So, display ads, oops, I'm going backwards here. So we kind of explain how display ads work in layman's terms. Somebody, goes to your website, they leave your website, they do not convert. Then later they're browsing the internet. They might be checking their Gmail. They might be watching YouTube videos. They might be on their favorite sports website or whatever they may be doing. And your ads get retargeted back to them. This is the power of what we call retargeting. And even this section alone, we've got a whole different webinar series that we just talk about buying display ads and how to do retargeting effectively. So, a lot of people use the GDN network, which is a Google Display Network. And not to say there's anything wrong with the Google Display Network. I mean, we often use it as well, but there's other alternatives depending on what your client's goals are, what their budget is. There's other times you want to use outside the GDN network. So I think the two big things I could just think of off the top of the bat is, number one, on the GDN network, it doesn't include Facebook. So if you want to target people on Facebook, the Exchange network doesn't include that. So you'd have to run separate ads on Facebook yourself. And if you're doing retargeting, you have to put a separate pixel through Facebook. So I mean, it takes an extra step if you wanted to reach that market. The second thing to realize as well is on the Google Display Network, all the inventory that they buy, it's actually pre-bought, meaning that they have algorithms in place because they need to sell that inventory. They don't want that to go to waste because they already pre-bought it. So sometimes what ends up happening is your customers' ads end up going on websites where it's not probably the best for the customer, but it's better for, in this case, it's better for Google. And not to say that, I mean, this is obviously their core intention. I mean, at the end of the day, they want to make sure that the campaign is successful and your ad copies, you do have targeting controls and things like that. But just keep in mind that GDN, it's pre-bought inventory as well. And then there's alternatives to that, like there's things like AppNexus and so forth. And AppNexus, again, it's a great alternative. And it has a lot of different exchange networks as well. But again, there's good and bad about AppNexus is where, what we like to say is they have something called good neighborhoods and bad neighborhoods, where, in the bad neighborhoods, your ads could get, your ads could be shown where it's not really driving targeted clicks. And there's a lot of click fraud in this business as well. So when you're using something like AppNexus, you're pretty much buying their entire system. You can't really pick and choose. You're buying all these neighborhoods as a whole. And not to say it's bad, because AppNexus, I mean, for the vast majority of the part, it is good neighborhoods. It's not, I don't want to put the conception out there, it's, that your ads are going to be placed on fraudulent websites or anything like that, but just keep that in mind. That's where, again, using some of the different options that even WSI has inside the marketplace, like Central DSP, which they're 100% transparent, and you could actually bid on exactly which sites that you want, and you could actually say premium websites. There's a whole bunch of variables there, but it's all transparent, where you could eliminate all the bad neighborhoods and so forth. When I say you, it's not you physically doing this. This is like either our team or their team or whoever's running the campaign to make sure that your clients are getting the best ad copies on display networks possible. The one big thing I just want to talk about display ads for a second here is, by default, if you're running any display ads right now, the one thing you want to check in your analytics or even inside your where are these ads being displayed. So if you're using the GDN network inside your AdWords campaign, look at the websites they're getting displayed on. By default, they are displayed on mobile devices. So there's a high probability a lot of your display ads are appearing and you're getting clicks from all these like mobile apps like Flashlight and Candy Crush and all those games and programs where you get people download the free version of the app, but they have ads on them and banners on them, in which I like to call accidental clicks, where people accidentally click. I'm sure we've all done this on an app where you click, you meant to close up the ad or whatever because it was taking up the screen in the app that you're in, but it accidentally opened up the actual website where you quickly shut this down. I won't expose the customer, but we just landed a client. They were working directly, and get this, they were working directly with Google. They were spending about $50,000 a month on display ads. And when we went in their analytics and analyzed the stuff for them and showed them, like, look, about 98% of your traffic was being bounced on display ads, and the people that did stick around, it was like a 5 seconds or something like that. It was something outrageous like that. And we've shown them that half their ads, well, not half, majority of their ads were being on these mobile devices that it was not their target audience, which we call accidental clicks. In fact, once not only did we win the business over and they gave us their media budget and they canceled their relationship directly with Google, they showed this data to Google, and Google actually gave them a refund, not a total refund of their media spend, but they did give them a credit back, which again, this stuff, there's so many different layers inside display ads and retargeting ads that we could talk to our prospects. And another common one is, like, for example, like ad roll. And again, nothing wrong with ad roll. There's ad roll, there's rocket fuel, there's a whole bunch of them out there. But keep in mind, usually, I'm just giving averages, is when you're using something like ad roll, $2 out of every $3, I believe that's it, or something along like that, goes towards them and their platform and their technologies, and 1/3 of it is actually going towards media spend. Again, there's nothing wrong with that in theory if, of course, the results are there warranted, but there's so much things that people don't understand when they're using other platforms for display or retargeting, where this is the opportunity when WSI comes in, because we're so educated on all the different systems out there. And not just, again, I'm not trying to say that ad roll is a bad option or AppNexus is a bad option or GDN is a bad option. We use all of them, in fact, with different clients and for different needs. But to be able to understand all that stuff and to talk to our customer about it could help you win the business. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so next section over here is dominating Google. So let's see what we've got here. So again, if this is the presentation I did when I was in Maui, in Hawaii. I mean, probably one of the nicest places I had an opportunity to fly out to and to do a digital marketing conference. But I showed them local results. Like, look, because we had a room full of all these businesses and I didn't know exactly who's going to be there. So again, just by using the Google Keyword Research tool, go ahead and plug in some of the common products or services, especially if you know who's coming to your event, of how many people are searching for them locally. So in this case, I was kind of showing them 120 people search for the term for the term dentist, 630 people search for the term auto repair, 240 people search for the term babysitter, 3,790 monthly searches for the term restaurants. And then I kind of joked around because I'm a big fan of Indian food and butter chicken. And apparently in Maui or lots of places in Hawaii, they've never even heard of butter chicken. So I kind of made a joke that I was the only one that searched for butter chicken. But anyways, always try to add some humor to your presentations, because as much as we find this stuff very interesting, especially when you start getting more technical, this could start going over people's heads, and you want to make sure you try to keep them engaged as much as possible. Okay, so another thing we like to talk about is the algorithm changes that are happening in Google. Again, this is getting a little bit more technical, and most of our clients and people that we do work with, they don't care about penguins and pandas and hummingbirds, and the biggest one was rank brain and things like that. That's not their concern, and they don't want to sit there and learn about all that stuff and what that all means. They just want to have the comfort that the agency that they're working with, they get that stuff. And they just want to know that when they search for their product or their service, that they're found. So this is one way of making them feel assured that not only do we understand the different algorithm updates, our platforms and our technologies automatically track the stuff and match that to their rank data. That way we could get flagged and notified if there's a dip in ranking when an algorithm update happened. All this, by the way, when I'm talking about these technology and features, I'm just talking about right now, even just with G-Shift alone can do all that stuff, which is one of the prime reasons we use them for our SEO platform for that ability. In fact, when we actually show rank data of a client or a prospect, and it shows all the different algorithm updates that happen, for example, in the last 90 days, that helps us close SEO sales because their existing providers don't have that data or don't track that data or don't do it on a daily basis, where we not convince them, but we show them that our platform does this for them. So the big question we always get asked from our prospects is they want to be ranked #1 in Google. Like, who doesn't want to be ranked #1 organically? And we always say, okay, that's nice, you want to be ranked #1, but do you generally deserve to be ranked #1 in Google? That's how we kind of put the phrase back to them. So I'm going to use an example of auto insurance. If I'm an auto insurance company, and let's just say I'm in California, and I want to be ranked, and it's quite a competitive phrase, do I generally have the best information and content about auto insurance? Do I've got the different auto insurance options, policies, plans, packages, how auto insurance has changed over the years? Do I've got auto insurance comparison rates to some of my bigger competitors? Do I've got auto insurance quoting system? Do I've got reviews and ratings? Do I've got videos of explanations? Do I've got testimonials? Do I've got infographics? And again, I'm just listing all this stuff, but all of this type of content all helps build the theme of the website. And again, we tell our product, don't be biased. If you went into Google and you typed in your product or your service, do you generally have the best information out there, or does your competitors have a better user experience, a better landing page experience? Their website loads faster. It's easier to find that information. There's more content available there that's helpful to the user conducting the search. So these are all variables to consider. And even looking at time on website is now becoming a factor. Well, not now, it has been a factor. So for example, if I was ranked #1 in Google for auto insurance, and you guys all clicked on my website and left within 5 seconds and clicked on the #2 website and stayed there for 4 or 5 minutes, that's indicating to Google that my website for that given keyword phrase does not deserve to rank there because I had such a high bounce rate, or my time spent on website was quite low. Again, so Google doesn't look at this at a small scale, it's over a big scale. So don't worry about it. If you click on your own website and hit the back button, it's not going to impact your results at all. This is on a mass level scale. They're collecting and using this data. Also, social signals. I mean, this still cannot be ignored. I mean, over time, there's been, things that it has less value, but now it has more value. Regardless, if people are taking your content and resharing it and repinning it and retweeting it and posting it on the different platforms, it's all sending social signals or links back to your website, which tells the search engines your website or your content is important, people like it, people share it, which has an influence over ranking. So You want to build authority and trust with the search engines. A big change as well. I don't know if I've got the example. Yeah, this is the example. So before in the local results aspect, you used to get letters A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like the 7-pack listing. I think we all know. I think it was sometime at the end of August where Google eliminated that, and now you only have 3 listings. So, and even Google just recently made some changes with Google, their Google local pages and so forth. This whole map listing and how to be found and how to do SEO and so forth, this I'm going to cover in our next week's webinar. So, forgive me for kind of skipping over these slides, but I want to go into details of how the SEO process works. But the one example, and even with the whole Google Plus, there's a lot of things out there that Google Plus is now dead and Google has stopped it. And yes, that's true to a degree, but just to show you still how powerful Google Plus is, this is when I was in our conference. I was doing this conference right now, this exact presentation in Montana. And when I got there, I was at the back of the room. I quickly snapped a photo, and if you want to do this and test this yourself, it works almost all the time. I've yet once to see where this does not work. So I took a photo of the classroom, and what I did was I went on my personal Google Plus page, and I typed in digital marketing conference, in this case it's Kalispell, Montana, and I went ahead and I posted the photo of the photo I just posted. So that's all I did. And then what I did was I had to get someone like a colleague, and of course, if you've got multiple accounts, you could just sign out, sign in, and use a different account. In this case, I had Ryan from our Waterloo office on the call when I was doing this, and asked him, hey, Ryan, do me a favor. Could you sign into your Google account and do a search for digital marketing conference, take a screenshot and send it over to me? Now, keep in mind, in order for this demonstration to work, the other person has to be part of your network, like your friends inside Google+. So like just for example, like on Facebook, how you're connected through friends, or on LinkedIn, you're connected through a connection. Same thing with Google+. They have to be part of your circle of friends for this test to work. So when Ryan went into his Google and typed in digital marketing conference, take a look at the results he saw. And again, I'm going to zoom in over here. If you look at digital marketing conference in California, here's the power of this. Take a look at how fast Google had indexed this 5 seconds ago. That's how quick and fast Google is grabbing content from Google+. Again, this is not, and we tell our clients, we're not trying to sell magic beans. We're not trying to tell you that, look, you can get rankings in Google in 5 seconds. There's variables here. Number one, I was signed into my Google account and posted on my personal Google page. Number two, the person that did this search, they were signed into their Google account, and because they're part of my network, they saw this post. If Ryan was signed out, or anybody else in the world was signed out and they did this exact search, my posting here would not appear. So what's the point of all this? This is just to show you how quick and how fast Google is indexing content on their platform. So if you've got blog content, if you've got links that you want Google to quickly crawl and index and find, leverage Google+. It's still a powerful, powerful way for it to work. And only time will tell how far Google will actually take this. So in the sense that if someone types in like sushi restaurant, everyone's going to get personalized results, that we could all be sitting beside each other in the same area, but I might get different results based on where my friends have checked in, where my friends are hanging out at, and what businesses, or there's a whole bunch of variables here, and this is going to come into quite a bigger play in my opinion. So what's better than being ranked number 1 in Google? Well, what if your website's ranked number 1, your Facebook page is ranked number 2, your YouTube video is ranked number 3, your Twitter page is ranked number 4. So in this case, we talked about kind of dominating the search engines, where every single time you get another listing in Google, you're knocking one of your competitors off that first page of real estate. This is especially powerful if there's a negative listing on you on page 1 of your company name or your personal name, and you might have had an ex-employee, or just who knows, there just might be a rip-off report or complaints report or something about your business that's hurting you. Here's one of the ways to combat that, is to push that listing off page 1. So, okay, so I know we're kind of at the top of the hour. What I'm going to do is, for those people that could obviously just stick around, I'm still going to kind of dial through this. I'll try to get done. I believe I've got a handful of slides just left, so I'll try to wrap this up in the next 10 to 15 minutes. If you do have to go, again, you could get a recorded version of this. And what we'll do is when we send you the link, we'll leave it off from this perspective so you can start watching here. So I'm going to keep dialing through. So from a conversion perspective, here's an example for e-commerce. And it doesn't have to be e-commerce, but we kind of show that when we're building websites, you kind of want to follow like what we like to say, what Amazon has done. Amazon spends like lots of money on testing their add to cart button, making it 3D, putting a little shadow behind it, a bevel behind it, to see what's getting people to click on more, which colors work better. The more you can mimic their color strategy and their button strategy and so forth, the higher probability that your e-commerce site is going to convert better. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to copy everything that they're doing. Take aspects of what they're doing. So again, cross-sell your customers. Have the ability to view the image on a larger view if you hover over it. Show them how much money that they're saving, and if you can show them in dollars and percentage sign, has more of a value. I mean, there's a whole bunch of variables here that you could show, and generally speaking, anytime you put the font red for your price, that's indicating a hot buy or a hot sale, and red is the first color the human eye actually sees, so our eyes naturally will get attracted to that area first as well. And one of the things that Amazon does a beautiful job in is removing distractions. So let me just show you and walk you through the Amazon website, and a lot of people don't even realize this is happening to them when they're doing this. So I'm on the Amazon homepage right now, and right now I did a search for Harry Potter, and you can see I see the book, I see a nice little big button that says add to cart. So I'm going to go ahead and add this item to my cart. Once I add this item to the cart, here's number one. I see in big green letters, added to the cart. I see over here one item added to the cart, and I see at the top right hand corner, my cart has one item in it. A lot of e-commerce sites, sometimes you add an item to the cart, you don't even know it got added. Like it didn't even look like the page refreshed. So you end up adding the item again and again, and next thing you know, your shopping cart is full of the duplicate items, and the price is so high. And again, just one of the frustrations of not having a good e-commerce cart. And the second frustration is sometimes when you add an item to the cart, it kicks you to the checkout page. Well, what if you weren't done shopping? That's like going to the store, you put a bag of milk in your cart, and they're already rushing you to the cashier, but you want to buy bread and cookies and muffins and a whole bunch of other stuff. So again, in this case, Amazon, you can see even though I added the item to the cart, they're still giving me things. If you bought this, other people bought this, there's still a search field, there's still a top navigation menu. There's a whole bunch of, in this case, not distractions, but options for me to still continue my buy. Let's pretend I don't want anything else, and I click on proceed to checkout. Watch what happens. When I clicked on proceed to checkout, the entire screen, it goes blank. In fact, there's no top navigation, there's no sidebar links, there's no offers. Even this Amazon logo is not a clickable link. The only way I could get back to the previous screen is I could actually physically hit the back button on the browser to go back. Because at this point, Amazon is zoning you in. They do not want you to leave. All they want is your credit card or for you to sign in, and that's it. So they've done a very effective job of making sure that they do not distract customers. And secondly, and this is not even just for e-commerce, this goes for if you've got long forms on your website and you're breaking it up, it's always nice to see this top, like what's happening next. Like number one, sign in. Number two, shipping and payment. Number three, gift options. Number four, place order. People like to see what's happening next. So it kind of gives them a sense of how long is this going to take and kind of puts order in place when they're doing things. So if you could incorporate that in your funnels or your forms or your e-commerce cart, it has a huge benefit. So tracking conversion. So Google Analytics is probably the most used platform. We've talked a little bit about that at the beginning. So we go through, again, a specific training for GA and talk to our prospects about what does direct search mean, what does search engine mean, what does referral mean, and now we start talking about referral spam and how to combat that and how it's screwing up a lot of data in Google Analytics and what are the workarounds and so forth. But looking at Google Analytics data, especially for e-commerce, you want to have something called advanced or enhanced e-commerce enabled, which allows you to track if someone comes to your shopping cart and they add items. So here's the example of someone came to we had 681 visits to the website. We had 287 people that viewed the product, 54 of them added it to the cart, 19 of them checked out, and 9 of them had transactions. So if I'm not tracking this data, I might look at this and say, wow, I had a pretty good week. I had 9 transactions this week and my website's performing well. Well, maybe not. What happened for those 10 visitors that abandoned at this step? Why did I have a 47% drop off? Or what about the 54 people that I added the item to the shopping cart, but they did not check out? What happened to them? So if you're not collecting this data, you're not going to know what happens next. And Google Analytics will collect this data, and then you could create a custom segment to filter out what happened to those visitors that left and where do they go, to better understand what do you need to put in each one of these funnels or landing pages to have the higher probability that they do not opt out and they do not exit or they do not leave or go somewhere else. So again, this example is using e-commerce, but it could be applied to, by creating funnels and goals, the same concept could be applied. Google Analytics is a very, very powerful tool. There's a lot of data that gets collected in there, but again, if you're not sure of how to understand that data and segment it and consult on it, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity that's missed. So this is how we educate our prospects of why leverage WSI to help them dissect this data and find out what's working and what's not working. Just on that note, for any of those people that are doing, for example, like pay-per-click marketing or anything like that, where they're paying for traffic and it's being tracked inside AdWords and analytics, and they've linked the two together. Well, you don't even have to link the two together, but if you're tracking data, because generally speaking, it's going to show you, your client might be looking at, okay, I spent $1,000, and out of the $1,000, I've got 5 conversions, or I've got 5 people that bought items to the shopping cart, or whatever the goals may be, directly related to, in this case, paid search marketing. Even though there's something called assisted conversions, it's something that you would always want to pull into your reports. Because, for example, if I clicked on a pay-per-click ad today, I came to your website and I did not buy, and then after later on that day or that week, I Googled the company name, or I saw a Facebook post, or you guys sent me an email newsletter or something, and I came back to your website and I bought, your analytics is going to show the person that gets the credit is the last referral, which might be I came directly back to the website or I came organically. But really, the only way I originally found them is through the pay-per-click marketing efforts. So this is called an assist. So think of it in sports term. If someone that shoots the basketball gets the point, but we're collecting the person that passed him the ball or her the ball and shot it, that can't go unaccounted for. So you want to make sure that inside your reporting, you're also using that as a variable to justify your pay-per-click marketing spend or your email marketing spend or whatever you're doing, to show them that not only did your PPC marketing drive this much traffic, clicks, visits, impressions, and conversions, but it also assisted in this much traffic, clicks, conversions, goal completions, whatever the things that you're actually measuring. So then again, what we like to do is, outside of Google Analytics, a lot of people are familiar with it. We like to show them that there's different heat mapping tools that we use. In this case, we're using Crazy Egg over here. And again, this is more, to tell the truth, it's a big wow factor. When we talk to a lot of brands, they don't understand GA, and they sometimes get overwhelmed with all those data and bounce and all that stuff, but they understand this, visuals. So if they're like, yeah, okay, I didn't know that if I ran a newspaper ad, or if I ran a print campaign, if I did a television ad, or if I did a direct mail, or if I ran paid search marketing, I could actually see how people behaved on my website or on my landing page by these color coordinates. So this will show you where people are actually clicking on the actual landing page, or even how far they're scrolling down. There's different types of heat maps that Crazy Egg has, and it's really good, especially when you're looking at tablet or mobile, because you want to know how far they're going down the page to actually see your different calls to action. So we talk about that, and then we kind of touch on marketing automation. This we go very high level, because we always find with marketing automation, we actually have to do a real demo to really get them to understand how this works. but at the end we kind of explained to them that we could set up triggers and workflows that if somebody comes to their website and performs an action or visits a landing page or fills out a form, we could customize their experience so the next time they get an email, or it could trigger an email to them, it could trigger a text message, or it could trigger when the next time they come back to the landing page, they see a different landing page than somebody else visiting it. That's the first time them seeing it. There's all these things that we could customize inside the marketing automation system, and we touch upon that as well. So that's kind of what and then we kind of finish off with crawl before you walk, before you run, because there's a lot of ways you could spend money on digital and you could blow a lot of money. What we generally like to tell our clients is let us do a 90-day campaign, a 3-month program in which we could test, monetize, and see what's working and what's not working, and then come back with a complete program to show you how to spend your digital marketing budget. A lot of our prospects like to hear that because they're not tied into any type of long-term commitment. So that works out really well for us. At the same time, it gives us enough time to actually test, because what we like to show them with them is, month number 3 is much different than month number 2 and month number 1. Week number 12 is much different than week number 10 versus 8 versus 6, because our system is learning and our people are learning that are actually optimizing the campaign. Now, this 90-day program, of course, it only works with things like pay-per-click marketing and things like that. It's not going to work with SEO or some of the other longer-term strategies. So keep that in mind, and that's kind of how we end off the presentation. The only other thing that I have here at the end is I like to kind of end up on a fun and creative note. So I kind of collected together what I found was to be some of the best online, not necessarily online, but some of the cool stuff that I saw, how businesses, what they've kind of done outside of the box to advertise their business. So let me just quickly walk through some of these, and I'll spend only like a couple minutes here. But if you guys do have any specific questions, feel free to go ahead and start typing those into the chat dialogue while I kind of go through some of the brands that I like their marketing campaigns. Here's Papa John's. You could see that, when they got married, I mean, how cool is this? I mean, if you got a pizza like this, one of the first things that you're going to do is, before you eat it, is take a photo of it and share it, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook. So what ended up happening is a lot of people indirectly started advertising Papa John's, and where people wanted to order this pizza because it was very cool what they've done. Here's a banner ad. It's for unwanted gray hair, and usually when you look at banner ads, people kind of say, I know it's a banner ad, I'm not going to click on it. That's not true, and especially if you design banner ads in a great way. So take a look at the website this banner ad was on. So kind of funny, but very powerful way of making sure that if you know the exact spot which you have control over of where your ad copy is going to get placed or your banners are going to get placed, you could design it effectively to match or incorporate with the existing website design or technology to make sure it does what you want it to do. IKEA had a great example of where they posted photos of their showroom on Facebook, and if you were the first one to tag yourself, you actually got that item for free. So everything from the bed to the desk to the pillow to the wallpaper to the rug, the stools, every single item was a taggable item. And again, if you're the first one to do so, you got that item for free. And once you tag yourself, it would automatically show up on your news feed saying, in this case, Baltic Gill just won a free bed from IKEA, and it was indirectly, again, it allowed them to advertise their catalog of items across Facebook at no cost. I mean, the technology cost to run this campaign was $0 because they leveraged Facebook. Of course, they just had the fulfillment cost, which was, again, nothing in terms of the viral campaign this brought. One of my favorites is the one from Burger King. This one says, friendship is strong, but the Whopper is stronger. Use this application, be rewarded with a free Whopper, when you sacrifice 10 of your Facebook friends. Each friend will be notified for it, so choose wisely. So basically, they ran a campaign saying that, look, if you defriend 10 people on your Facebook account, Burger King will send you a Whopper. But once you defriend them, they will get a message saying, Baltic just sacrificed you for a Whopper. And then it would somehow give you the message, sacrifice 10 of your friends, and you get yourself a Whopper. So, Facebook quickly took this campaign down because they did not want you to defriend people. That kind of defeated the purpose of Facebook. But when this was running, it made an awesome campaign for Burger King because it did prove their point that friendship is strong, but the Whopper is stronger because people were willing to sacrifice their friends. Last example here, DHL is faster. This is what DHL has done, and there's a great YouTube video on this. If you want to just search DHL is faster, I'm sure it's still there. But basically what they did was they got these huge boxes. They wrote the message DHL is faster, and the boxes that they were on was some special material that when you froze them, it looked like this. It was solid black, so you couldn't see what the message was behind the actual color. And then they contacted some of their competitors and asked them to go ahead and pick up these huge boxes. So here you can see a UPS guy coming up to this location, picks up this big box that he's got no idea what's written on it, and loads it up in his truck. And what DHL did was they sent these drivers to busy towns of the city where it was really hard to find these specific addresses. And over time, when the box would melt or come to room temperature, you could see that the competitor was pushing a box down the street trying to find an address, and they were seeing the message that DHL is faster. So kind of a funny campaign, and I think it's one of the more creative ones that I've seen out there. But here are some of the examples that I've seen, and that, again, I like to kind of conclude on some of the funny stuff towards the end of the presentation. And that's usually how I wrap up the entire presentation. So I know, again, I went through this probably extremely fast. Obviously, when you're doing this presentation, it's important to gauge the audience, to make sure that you have pauses in between so they could actually digest the information, to everything that you've said. And again, usually when we do this entire presentation, we allocate 2 hours. So I've kind of dialed through this and crammed it in an hour setting. So just keep that in mind. And of course, if there's anything in this presentation or that you guys are doing that you guys have found effective, that are good examples, I would love to see them. So again, feel free to email me with anything that, whether it's statistics or just stuff that when you find that when you're presenting, the audience is kind of like, wow, okay, I see that, or it just hits home for them. By all means, share that data with me. What I could do is then I could put together a resource as well from all the submissions that I do get from ICs as well, and kind of compile that together and send out a version 2 of this presentation. That way, again, you guys can kind of pick and choose which aspects of this presentation you would like to incorporate into your own. And hopefully, like I said, this helps educate your prospects on all the different elements of digital marketing. We always start off by saying that, look, you could take any one of these sections, like, for example, like Facebook alone. You could spend a full day, a workshop on just how to monetize Facebook and how to leverage it for a brand. Or you could take a topic like search engine optimization and, again, spend a full day if you wanted to and talk about that. The objective of this was kind of to talk a little bit about everything, because keep in mind you have different people in the room. Some of them do pay-per-click, some of them don't. Some of them do SEO, some of them don't. And again, so it's kind of touching on all elements. And again, there's other things in here that we didn't look at, like email marketing and stuff like that, which are quite important. But again, just trying to get the best out of the time usually we have allotted for these type of things. This presentation seems to work well. Okay, so there's a lot of questions coming in terms of the actual slide deck. So yeah, so we won't be able to email the actual slide deck to you because it's like 30 some megs. What we'll do is we'll have a clickable link, like I'll probably upload this on Google Drive. So if you do want a copy of this presentation, please send us an email. Otherwise, you should automatically, I believe we set up the GoToMeeting. I think it's within 24 hours or 12 hours or something like that. You'll get an email saying thank you for attending it's an hour. You should get it from an hour from now saying thank you for attending the webinar. In case you do not, feel free to send us an email to info@m3sm.com. I apologize, I should probably have had it on the screen. And that's probably another thing to note as well, that if you are doing this presentation, you could obviously have your call to action of if you did want to do business with yourself and so forth, and have your information on there of how they could contact you and so forth. From our experience, and not just this is not just with ICs, this is with prospects, because a lot of what we find is when people attend webinars, I mean, webinars, in my opinion, have kind of got a bad name, where there's a lot of webinars out there, a lot of free information. Not to say that they're all, crappy, but there are a lot of crappy ones out there, and you could kind of see through it that they're trying to sell you something. And there's nothing wrong with, of course, you're taking the time out of your day to put together something where you're educating other people, and there's nothing wrong with, of course, getting business out of it. Just the same way as we're doing this to you, our goal is to work closely with you guys and to get work and build relationships with you. But what we find is, if you don't, and this is just my opinion, anytime I do this stuff, I always, even in my presentations when I'm talking to prospects, even when I'm talking about pay-per-click marketing, I said I actually speak in the classroom and say, look, talk to your existing digital marketing company, ask them these questions, get help on this. Make sure you're putting the ball back in their court, and you're not looking at someone that's saying, we could do a better job, come use us. We're in fact doing the opposite, saying, look, if you've got someone that you're working with, great. Here's the things that you want to look for, and make sure that's incorporated, because you're probably going to get better results. I think it helps build that more level of comfort and trust, and doesn't come across that you're like a pushy sales guy. That's just my opinion out there, but that seems to work well. So again, that's why in this presentation I never had my contact information. But for this particular sake, we're not selling you guys anything. This is more if you guys want the copy of the presentation. If you do not receive it, info@m3sm.com. If there's any, because I know there's a whole slew of questions, most of it looks like it's all about the presentation. So in case I've missed any in between, and you had another question just about the deck that we've covered, shoot us an email. We'd be more than happy to answer. Thanks everyone for again taking the time, and a lot of you guys have stuck through for almost an hour and a half, so I appreciate that. And join us tomorrow, not tomorrow, next week, Wednesday, on our last webinar. We're going to be talking about a lot of important changes in Google from an SEO perspective leading into 2016, ensuring how you could win over SEO clients from some of your competitors out there. Thanks. Have yourself a great day. Enjoy the rest of the week.